What if BMW just built the SUV that makes every other electric vehicle look outdated, including Tesla? Because here's the thing. The BMW Neue Klasse SUV isn't just another new car dropping into a crowded market. This is BMW's biggest reinvention in decades. A ground-up rebuild of everything you thought you knew about German engineering, German luxury, and what a premium electric SUV is actually supposed to feel like. New platform, new battery technology, new operating system, new everything. And here's the part that most people aren't talking about yet. This thing might actually deliver on every single promise BMW has ever made and never fully kept in the electric space. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly whether the BMW Neue Klasse SUV deserves your attention, or more importantly, your money. Now, before we get into the details, let's set the scene properly, because context matters here. BMW has been around for over 100 years, and for most of that time, they built their entire reputation on one core promise: the ultimate driving experience. That tagline wasn't marketing fluff. For generations of drivers, BMW genuinely meant something. It meant precision. It meant performance. It meant a car that felt alive in your hands. But then the electric age arrived, and that reputation, it got tested, hard. The early EVs from BMW were good cars, respectable, even. The iX3 had range. The i4 had style. The iX had presence. But if you talk to BMW loyalists, the people who had been driving 3 Series and X5s for 20 years, most of them said the same thing. These cars felt like compromises, like BMW was adapting to the electric world rather than owning it, like they were catching up instead of leading. And BMW knew it. So they went back to the drawing board, completely. And what came out of that process is something they decided to name very deliberately. The Neue Klasse, which in German simply means new class. That name is not accidental. Back in the 1960s, BMW was in serious trouble. The company was close to collapse. And it was the original Neue Klasse lineup, a series of bold, well-engineered, beautifully designed cars that saved them. Those cars didn't just keep BMW alive. They redefined what BMW stood for and set the foundation for everything the brand became over the next 60 years. So when BMW brings that name back now, they're not being nostalgic. They're making a statement. They're saying, this is that moment again. This is the reinvention. This is where we stop catching up and start leading. The Neue Klasse SUV is the centerpiece of that statement, built on an entirely new, dedicated EV platform, designed specifically for the electric era, not converted from a gas architecture, not adapted, not compromised. Built from scratch for this purpose, for this moment. And it's aimed squarely at the US market, specifically at buyers who want a premium electric SUV, but have felt stuck choosing between cold minimalist design on one side and tech-heavy Silicon Valley energy on the other. BMW is saying there's a third path, one that combines genuine driving pleasure with cutting-edge technology and real-world usability. Expected to reach US showrooms in 2025 and into 2026, the Neue Klasse SUV sits right in the heart of the premium electric segment, above the Tesla Model Y, competitive with the Audi Q6 e-tron, and going head-to-head with the Mercedes EQC for the same sophisticated buyer. But does it actually live up to the weight of that name? Does it earn the Neue Klasse legacy? Let's get into everything, because there is a lot to cover. Starting with how this car looks, because first impressions matter, and BMW has made some bold choices here. From the outside, the Neue Klasse SUV is immediately recognizable as a BMW, but it doesn't look like any BMW you've seen before. The controversial, oversized kidney grille era that divided so many fans, gone. In its place is a cleaner, more aerodynamic front end, slim adaptive headlights that stretch wide across the face, a balanced and proportioned front fascia, and an overall silhouette that feels genuinely athletic without being aggressive or theatrical. It doesn't look like it's trying to be futuristic. It looks like it simply is. There's a confidence in the design that doesn't need to shout. Clean lines, purposeful curves. A roofline that flows naturally into a sculpted rear without chopping off headroom or killing cargo space. The rear of the car carries that same energy. Slim connected taillights, a wide stance, and just enough muscle in the lower body panels to remind you that this isn't some economy EV trying to look premium. This is a car that was designed to be exactly what it is, a world-class SUV that happens to be fully electric. Step inside, and this is where things get genuinely exciting. BMW has completely reimagined the interior experience with the Neue Klasse. The most talked about feature is something they call the panoramic vision, a head-up display system unlike anything in this segment. This isn't a small floating speedometer projected onto the lower windshield like most HUDs. This is a full-width information layer that stretches across the entire windshield, giving you navigation, speed, driver assistance alerts, and key information right in your natural line of sight, without ever pulling your eyes down to a screen. Early journalists who have sat in pre-production versions describe it as genuinely transformative. Not a gimmick, not a tech demo. An actual improvement to how you interact with the car while keeping your attention on the road. The rest of the dashboard is intentionally minimal. One central display, thoughtfully placed physical controls for the things you actually need to touch without looking. A cabin that feels open, premium, and considered, not cluttered with screens for the sake of looking high-tech. Materials throughout are exactly what you'd expect at this price point, and then some. Sustainable material options are available for buyers who want them. Rear passenger space is noticeably more generous than previous BMW SUVs in this size class, and the overall sense of quality when you close the door, settle into the seat, and look around is exactly what BMW needs it to be: exceptional. On the technology side, BMW has built an entirely new electrical architecture from the ground up. The Neue Klasse operating system is faster and more responsive than anything BMW has shipped before, and crucially, it's designed for over-the-air updates. This car doesn't just stay current, it gets better over time. New features, improved performance, enhanced driver assistance, all delivered wirelessly, the way software should work. The driver assistance suite is class-leading. Adaptive cruise control with stop-and-go capability. Lane centering that actually works in real-world traffic. Automated parking. And a new generation of BMW's intelligent personal assistant that understands context. Not just isolated voice commands, but the kind of natural conversational interaction that makes technology feel genuinely useful rather than frustrating. Now let's talk performance, because this is where the Neue Klasse SUV starts to separate itself from the competition in ways that matter. Early specifications point to a 0 to 60 time of under 4.5 seconds on the performance all-wheel drive variant. That's properly quick for a mid-size SUV, enough to feel genuinely exciting without being impractical for everyday driving. But the number that has the automotive world paying real attention is the range figure. BMW is targeting up to 600 kilometers, or approximately 373 miles, on a single charge under real-world conditions, not lab conditions, not best-case scenarios, real driving. If that holds up on American roads, in American weather, with American driving habits, that is a number that fundamentally changes the conversation. A round trip from Los Angeles to Las Vegas without charging, Chicago to Detroit without stopping, the kind of range that stops you thinking about charging and starts letting you just drive. Charging speed has also been substantially upgraded on the new platform. With a compatible DC fast charger, BMW is targeting a 10 to 80% charge in approximately 30 minutes. Not the fastest in the segment, but genuinely competitive. And paired with that range figure, more than sufficient for the vast majority of real-world use cases. Pricing for the US market hasn't been officially confirmed at time of filming, but industry analysts and supply chain sources are consistently pointing to a starting range somewhere between $65,000 and $75,000, depending on trim and configuration. That positions it clearly in the premium segment, above Tesla's volume models, competitive with the Audi Q6 e-tron, and going directly after Mercedes EQC buyers. And before we move to the verdict, there's something BMW has been quietly hinting at that the automotive press hasn't fully dug into yet. Something about how this platform performs against its own targets in real-world testing. Something that, if it holds up, changes where this car sits in the competitive landscape entirely. We're getting to that right now. Here is the moment of truth. And let's start with what BMW genuinely got right, because there is a lot to acknowledge here. The panoramic vision head-up display is not just the most impressive tech feature in this car. It might be the most genuinely useful driver interface technology in any production vehicle available today. The reason it works is because it doesn't distract. It informs. You look at the road. The information comes to you. That's the right way to solve the problem of keeping drivers connected to their car without taking their eyes off what matters. BMW solved it. The range target of 373 miles is the other headline that demands attention. In a market where range anxiety is still one of the top reasons people hesitate to go electric, that number is genuinely meaningful. It's not a marketing number built for perfect conditions. Based on what BMW has shared about their testing methodology, this is a real-world target. And here is where that quiet detail becomes very significant. Internal benchmark data that surfaced earlier this year indicated that the Neue Klasse platform was outperforming its own official range targets by approximately 11% during extended highway testing cycles. 11% on a 373-mile target. That's potentially over 400 miles of actual range. If that figure survives the transition from testing to production, and from production to real American roads, BMW may have quietly built the most capable everyday electric SUV in its price class without fully announcing it. The driving dynamics complete the picture, because BMW hasn't forgotten who they are. Early drive impressions from journalists who have spent time in pre-production versions consistently report that the Neue Klasse SUV drives like a BMW is supposed to drive. Responsive steering, confident and planted cornering, a suspension tune that absorbs road imperfections without going so soft that you lose connection with what the car is doing. In a segment increasingly full of EVs that prioritize comfort to the point of numbness, this car still communicates with the driver. That matters more than it sounds. Now the drawbacks, and there are real ones, so let's be straight about them. Price is the first and most obvious barrier. At $65,000 and above, this is not a car for most buyers. And with Tesla continuing to apply aggressive pricing pressure across its lineup, BMW has to justify that premium every single mile, every single day, for every single owner. That is a high bar to clear consistently. The charging network question is real. BMW has partnerships with various public charging providers, and the transition to NACS in North America is underway. But the seamless, reliable, find-it-anywhere experience that Tesla supercharger owners have built their driving habits around is not something BMW can fully replicate today. If you live somewhere with strong third-party charging infrastructure, this is manageable. If you don't, it requires more planning than a Tesla would. And finally, availability. Full US deliveries are expected to begin in late 2025, rolling into 2026. If you're shopping for a car today, right now, this vehicle is not your answer. It is a future purchase, which for some buyers is fine. For others, it's a deal breaker. So here is where everything lands. And the honest answer is this. For the right buyer, the BMW Neue Klasse SUV is not just a good choice. It might be the best choice in its segment when it arrives. Think about who this car is actually built for. It's built for the driver who has been loyal to BMW for years, who has loved every X3 or X5 they've owned, but has been waiting for an electric BMW that doesn't ask them to compromise on the things they love. The driving feel, the interior quality, the sense that the car was engineered with real care rather than assembled to a price point. That buyer exists in enormous numbers in the United States, and BMW has spent years not fully serving them in the electric space. The Neue Klasse SUV changes that. It's also built for the premium EV buyer who has looked at Tesla and respected the technology, but wanted something with more traditional brand substance. Something that feels considered rather than computational. Something with a heritage and an identity that goes deeper than a stock price. If you're that buyer, someone upgrading from a premium German SUV, a professional who uses their vehicle as part of how they present themselves, or someone who has simply been waiting for an electric vehicle that earns a $65,000 price tag without apology, this is worth your serious attention. If you're budget-focused, if you need a car before 2026, or if you live somewhere with limited fast-charging access, the calculus is different. There are better options available today at lower prices with better charging convenience. For those who are seriously considering this vehicle, when it becomes available, the mid-tier all-wheel drive configuration is almost certainly going to represent the best value in the lineup. Enough performance, full technology suite, real range, without the price premium of the top specification that most buyers will never fully utilize. The bigger picture here is important to acknowledge. The Neue Klasse SUV is not just a product launch, it's a signal. It tells the US market and the global automotive industry that European premium brands are not retreating from the electric transition. They are doubling down. They are playing a longer game. And when they arrive with something built from the ground up rather than adapted from the past, the gap between them and the competition closes faster than most people expected. Tesla is watching this. Audi is watching this. Mercedes is watching this. And honestly, so should you. This is one of the most important vehicle launches of the next several years, and you're already ahead of the conversation. Now I want to hear from you. Are you genuinely excited about the BMW Neue Klasse SUV, or do you think Tesla, Audi, or Mercedes still has the edge in this segment? Drop your honest take in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to know what you think. If this breakdown gave you real value today, if you learned something, if it helped you think through your next vehicle decision, hit that like button. It takes 1 second, and it genuinely helps this channel reach more people who are trying to make smarter decisions about cars. And if you want more honest, detailed coverage of the EVs and launches that actually matter, not clickbait, not filler, just real information, hit subscribe. Because we have a lot more coming, and you don't want to miss what's next. See you in the next one.